This is the Financially Simple Podcast, a show dedicated to destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner. And now, here's your host, pizza-loving, certified financial planner, Justin Goodbread.
Welcome to Financially Simple. Today, we're getting close to wrapping up our deep dive into building a best-in-class finance department for maximum value growth. But I had something unusual happen. I had a friend of mine who said, Justin, I've been listening to your podcast. I'm tracking along with you on this finance thing. And dude, I got a simple question, man. How do I even build financial stability in my small business? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, how can I stabilize the revenue of my small business? I said, well, dude, that's a very, very detailed discussion that I can't cover on a podcast. And he said, okay, well, let me ask you this. Can I build financial stability in my small business to maximize the value? I was like, well, we can deal with that, I think, in one episode of a podcast. So I'm going to try to answer his question today. Now, what was interesting is he often reaches out to me through social media. And maybe you're out there, you're listening to the podcast and you're like, Justin, I'd like to connect with you and ask you some questions on social media. You can do that. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. In fact, our YouTube channel we just heard today was voted top 10 business education YouTube channels in the country. I don't remember all the details. You have to go there and check it out. But anyways, it was awarded a nice little award. So we have all sorts of channels and you can connect with me through any of those. Or if you just want to shoot me an email, it's justin@financiallysimple.com. You can ask me any question. But let's deal with this, how to build financial stability in a small business for maximum value. You know, that's what we're dealing with here. We're trying to grow the value of our company. So at some point we can sell it, or at some point we can merge it or go public for whatever reason that you have. The idea is to grow the maximum value. Look, like I mentioned early in the series, we will leave our companies, whether or not we sell them or give them away or just let them dissolve. We will leave our companies because eventually, friends, all of us are going to meet our creator. All of us will. So we were after that goal of growing maximum value. So I want to lay the stage. Last year, near the panhandle of Florida, a hurricane devastated many parts. My uncle is actually a insurance adjuster for traumatic events. He's worked all over the Southeast and done insurance claims adjusting for big corporations. And he was showing me some of the pictures in various parts of the panhandle of Florida. It really looked like a war zone. It was unbelievable, the amount of destruction that a storm could have. What was interesting to me is my family had a vacation plan to go to Destin, Florida. That would have been just west, probably about 45 miles west of where the eye made landfall there in the panhandle. And we were slated to go to Destin, Florida, believe it or not, about 4 days after the hurricane made landfall. Well, the hurricane made landfall, then it flowed up through Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, created a lot of flooding because of the way that it just kind of stayed there. But we went on vacation. We could not go to Florida, though. The storm had devastated the area. I would have loved to go and spend some dollars there to help the local economy. But, due to the hurricane, it was all postponed. But we wanted to go to the Gulf nonetheless. So we ended up going to the far west side of Alabama. For those of you who know your geography, Alabama has a small amount of shoreline there in the Gulf. Florida covers a lot. Mississippi has a fair amount. Louisiana has a fair amount, but Alabama only has a very small amount. In fact, from where we were standing, we could see both borders of the Alabama line from where our little house was on the Gulf there for vacation. Whenever we got to Alabama, I noticed something. The water was calm. We actually took a deep sea fishing trip out. Me and my family and my in-laws took a fishing trip out, and we had a very calm ride. The water was unbelievably eerie calm. In fact, the only waves I saw for a little bit of it was the waves push from the bow of the boat as it was pushing through the water. We could see dolphins. We could see flying fish. We could see what you would call porpoise. We could see those on the water just breaking the surface all around us. We could see just unbelievable amounts of calmness. If you've ever been on the ocean and seen not a wave, it almost looks like a bathtub or like a small pond somewhere with not a ripple. It is weird. Let me just tell you, I've been in the ocean many hundreds of times, and it's very weird to not see a wave. Then I want you to put that picture in your mind, and that is the picture we're after when it comes to financial stability in a small business. In contrast to that picture, if we were to backtrack through our time about a week prior to our fishing trip, I doubt very seriously that boat could have gone out to sea because the hurricane was pushing in unbelievable waves. I've seen pictures on YouTube, and I like to watch these of my little, now I say little, he used to be 5, now he's 7-year-old. We like to watch the big boats crashing through the unbelievable waves. We like to see the guys surfing, and the waves are like 5 stories, 6 stories tall. I mean, just crazy waves. I imagine that a week prior to our fishing trip in Alabama, the ocean was unbearable. The waves were extremely volatile. They would have crashed for certain any boat, which is why Coast Guard gave all sorts of warnings, and people were fleeing because of the major storm. In our businesses, friends, our goal for financial stability is to create calm. And we do that 3 different ways. So we want to create calm, but we want to do it for the maximum potential value. And there's 3 simple ways to do this. Number 1, recurring revenue. I work with business owners from all over the country in all different disciplines. We have business owners that are in the professional services field. We have business owners who are in retail. We have business owners who are in services. You name it. I'm working currently with business owners all over the United States, driving the value of their company. And whenever I bring up recurring revenue, inevitably someone will say, we can't do that. We can't do it. It doesn't happen in our industry. Friends, there's a way to create recurring revenue in every industry. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But there is a way to create recurring revenue in every industry. See, the cool thing about recurring revenue is it helps to minimize the waves. It helps to create a calm revenue flow, a calm ocean, if you will, my analogy or my metaphor. So if we can create a revenue that is calm, that is consistent, that is not volatile, then we've increased dramatically the value of our company. I was having lunch today, believe it or not, with a fellow financial planner in town, another CFP here in the East Tennessee region. We've known each other for a couple of years, but we get together and we share notes and talk about business and kind of encourage each other. You need to have that, by the way, in every business. You need to have some comrades that are in the same industry. And he and I, we laugh because we're like, some people think we're in competition against each other, and we're not. But we were talking today. He asked me, he said, Justin, don't you feel like you could make more money if you did this, this, and this? And I said, yeah, I believe I could make more money immediately. But what that would do for my company would be to drop the multiple on the valuation of my company. And immediately a light bulb went off, almost like ding, a light bulb went off in his head. And he goes, oh my. I'm chasing dollars, but I'm not chasing value. And I said, yeah, you're chasing dollars. There's nothing wrong with chasing dollars. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm after value. I'm after growing a business that is transferable for maximum value. Why? Well, number 1, I think it's fun. It's a challenge to me to do that. Number 2, I deal with so many business owners who are in their 40s and 50s who say, some even in their 60s, who say, man, I've been growing a business my entire life and I have nothing I can sell. There's nothing they can sell there because they've been tracing the dollar. So I'm trying to teach them how to just in a 5-year, 10-year period of time, how to shift it from chasing the dollar to now creating an asset that somebody else is willing to purchase for it from you. And one of the best ways you can do that is recurring revenue base. So number 1, how can you create recurring revenue in your business? You need to. There's got to be a way. There always is. If you look hard enough, you'll figure it out and find it. I've worked with clients who say, Justin, there's no way. I'm telling you there's no way. And yet within about 5 minutes, we can come up with 5 or 6 different ways just by asking the right questions. So that's number 1. How do you increase financial stability in the company? You create a recurring revenue model.
You are listening to Financially Simple, destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner.
The second thing is you have a broad customer base. Broad customer base. I'll never forget a quote I read, and I hope I say this correctly, from Sam Walton, who said, market to the masses, a broad customer base, market to the masses and live in the classes. But if you market to the classes, you'll live in the masses. You see, so many people go around trying to market to the uber affluent or to the very limited niche. And I'm not talking about hyper niching your business. I'm talking about the customer base. They go around, they see somebody driving a nice fancy car, and all of a sudden you think, well, they've got some money. Surely they can buy my goods or service. Friends, if you're only marketing to those who appear affluent, and notice I say appear because many people who look like they make money are broke. Trust me, I see plenty of them in my world. If you only market to the super affluent, or if you're constantly elephant hunting, yeah, you're going to get an elephant every once in a while. But my goodness, you're missing a maximum value growth. So think of it this way. Let's say we have a company, doesn't matter the company, it's a service industry, and we have 30 customers. Not bad. They've been with us for years. If I compared that company to one that has maybe 500 customers, and I'm getting ready to buy it, I would prefer to buy the company that had 500 customers versus the company that has 30 customers. Why? Well, whenever the transition takes place, if 5 of my customers who only have 30 were to leave, that's a significant decrease in revenue. But if 50 or 5 or whatever the number is of 500 were to leave, I have a much broader customer base that I can rebuild and expand on. So you want to build a broad customer base. And again, I'm not talking about do not be specific. You've heard me say multiple times, be specific. So I'm not saying, well, I only work with small business owners. That's not saying I'm going to go out and work all of a sudden with a Fortune 500 company. It's outside of my expertise. That's not what I do. You may say, well, I only build a particular house for this type of customer. Great. Get a lot of them. So, well, I can't. Well, then that's a whole different issue. But for financial stability, you want a broad customer base. And the third thing is you want team-centric business, team-centric, instead of me-centric business. See, as the business owners are concerned, oftentimes we wrap the business around us to where we become the final authority on everything. Everything has to be approved by us. Truly, we micromanage our businesses to where the value is diminished. And we've got to avoid that. We've got to build the team in such a way that the business can operate fully and expand and grow fully without you or me, the founder, the proprietor, whatever term you want to use. We want to have the business where it's fully focused on team-centric. So how do we do that? You lay out the vision. You hire right. You systematize the business to where the business can operate without your direct influence. Obviously, we want to go in and we want to increase the income. I get that. I get we want to increase income for financial stability. I get it. I understand we want to decrease expenses. I get that too. But if I were to give 3 things that will help you build a financially stable business for maximum value, and that's the key. You're trying to grow the business where you can transfer it. Man, Team-Centric is right there with it. Why? Well, if I go to buy a business from somebody and everything has to run through the founder or the executive or the business owner, what happens if I don't have the exact answers needed and I don't want to jump into that role? What happens if I'm a passive investor and I have dollars to spend, but I want the business to be able to run without me there? See, I'm able to get more dollars by having the business not evolving around that proprietor. I'm not worried about those things. So what works for us in this financial field of growing maximum value is those 3 things. Focus on recurring revenue, focus on building a broad customer base, and focus on building a team-centric business. Now, I've gone through 100 and some odd episodes now on all the different ways you can accomplish those 3 things. But for this question, I thought it was best to kind of jump in here in this financial stability area as we're dealing with growing the financial division for maximum value and deal with this. How are you going to grow financial stability in a small business for maximum value? You've got to focus on those 3 things. And with that, guys, like I mentioned earlier, hey, reach out to me on the social media. I have lots of people. In fact, I had LinkedIn. A couple of people reached out to me on LinkedIn asking some questions, and I'm probably going to shoot a YouTube video for them and answer them via YouTube. So I challenge you to take a chance and look at us on social media and reach out and ask questions. Email me, justin@financiallysimple.com. Guys, if you like the podcast, do me a favor, share it with a friend. If you don't like the show, hey, share it anyways. Like I say every week, life is hard. Life is good and life can be frustrating. Money doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Hey, y'all go out and create a great day.
You have been listening to the Financially Simple podcast. The information in this show is for informational purposes only. This show is not investment advice. Instead, seek help from a competent financial advisor. Justin Goodbread, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Heritage Investors, a registered investment advisor.